Now, first things first, I know a few people popped a kneecap or two when they heard this game was in first person, but I think it suits this title exceedingly well. That being said, there are still moments where the camera shifts to third person. For example, when climbing and swinging on Indy's rope, it can be lizard brain levels of fun, as you try to avoid traps and hazards while also looking for objects to latch onto, like big old Bear Grylls. Unlike the famous pea drinker, Indy isn't afraid to knock a few skells in. Even though the game is mostly focused on stealth, Dr. Jones is packing some serious whip pulls, punches, and parries that feel quite satisfying to land. Albeit, since he isn't exactly a one-man army, getting overwhelmed will result in a quick exit stage right, even on the lower difficulties. Because his stamina bar runs out pretty fast as well, it's best to cut the action ASAP or restore your stamina with a parry counter if you can. Once you've gotten a solid grasp of the game, however, it is possible to cheese certain mob encounters by disarming enemy weapons with Indy's whip. Because they don't know any better, stun lock them a couple of times in a doorway until you've blasted them into the Shadow Realm, or push them over a conveniently placed chasm for an easy kill. If all else fails, you can hightail it away from a hostile area and return 5 seconds later like nothing's happened. Stealthily one-shot any stragglers with an improvised weapon, and Bob's your uncle.
Nice.
All things considered, the simple stealth mechanics and enemy AI aren't the best we've ever seen, but the Great Circle is still a lot of fun to play. Speaking of circles, Indy is out on yet another globe-trotting adventure in search of more magical MacGuffins. You know the drill, except this time it's 12 hours long. The game does capture the magic and music of the movies to a T, with a serving of silly slapstick humor and old-school action hero scenes and one-liners that keep things exciting. The overall plot doesn't go too much deeper than the original Indiana Jones films, though it's still worth checking out regardless, especially for fans of the series. The cast is voiced incredibly well too, and hiring Troy Baker as Indy was a very smart move. However, you can hear a few Bakerisms slip through if you listen closely.
Yeah, let me finish, please. I fear that my mother-in-law is with the child also.
Jesus Christ, what have you done?
Wait. You are not a priest.
Sorry, pal, you kind of deserved it.
One thing you won't want to slip through is the side quests of this game. Great segue, I know, but seriously, I was that impressed with their quality and how they effortlessly expand upon the world around you. Since many other games treat side quests as filler content, I'm always a happy chap whenever they're worth seeking out. And just like the rest of the adventure, the puzzles are a crackin' good time. Whether it be navigating a tricky platforming section or a dank crypt full of ancient technology trying to kill you, I was keen as a bean for these scenes. Forgive my forced rhyming, but I was honestly surprised by how well this game ran on my PC. Considering the requirements that Bethesda laid out, I still had a near constant 60 FPS, even with several of the highest settings switched on. Even if you don't have an absolutely stacked rig, there are plenty of settings to tinker with, including NVIDIA DLSS, that will noticeably bump the FPS count up. Another aspect worth looking into is the accessibility options, in particular the high contrast color effects, as I found them quite handy for finding improvised weapons, especially since Indy likes to visit dark, underground spots that would give any self-respecting treasure hunter a migraine and a half. Though maybe that's just me. Even so, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is way better than the last two movies. From the John Williams-esque score to Troy Baker's near spot-on performance as Indy, this 12-hour adventure is perfect for a weekend-long binge. I wasn't sure at first, but the first-person perspective suits this style of gameplay beautifully. The The dynamic action set pieces and up-close and personal approach to combat feel mighty satisfying, as Indy can whip and smack enemies for days. Even if the stealth and enemy AI could have been spruced up a bit, you'll have a ton of fun messing around with the various puzzles, platforming segments, and side quests of this game. While the ins and outs of this story aren't particularly interesting, the wild and wacky escapades Indy and his mates get up to are nothing short of entertaining. But if there's one key takeaway from this review, it's that there's almost always something to look forward to here, gameplay or scenario-wise. Now, whip it good!